What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome with the continuation of Act 2 here in episode Heresy. We got a little bit of updates, obviously, continuing our weekly quest with getting that Path of Affirmation complete, getting the second Catalyst version of the Pharaoh Dyad inside of the Nether, and as well we got ourselves these God Rules, which we are continuing to go over with a couple new weapons being dropped at the beginning of Act 2. We are going to start out with the Refusal of the Call, which is a Strand Glaive adaptive glaive in our Kinetic Slot. So this is the only Strand Glaive that we have. Also, one of the only two that we can have in our Kinetic Slot up there, as well as the Stasis version, which comes from Vanguard Strikes. One of only two that can be held in our Kinetic Slot. But we are going to cover the two origin traits that you can get on this bad boy. I will say that the second one is a special trait that you have to get from one of the shiny versions that comes already masterworked and stuff like that. But we got ourselves Willing Vessel. Dealing damage or defeating targets with this weapon gradually grants us increased stability, handling, reload, and charge rate. This effect is gradually decreased over time and is gained more quickly well near allies. So not a bad origin trait, but like I said, Runneth Over for me is definitely better. Runneth Over, like I'm saying, is reloading near allies, overflows magazines, bows receive faster draw times, and swords receive a faster charge rate. Definitely not a bad deal to have just an origin trait that can intrinsically overflow a magazine no matter what the weapon is, as long as you have this Runneth Over and you reload near allies. Pretty good little perk in my personal opinion. So if you get one of these shiny versions with this, I would throw Runneth Over on over Willing Vessel. Now, when we cover the PvE side of this, I believe that you got two options for your haft or whatever that may be. It's basically the stick that the glaive is on. We got low impetus winding for one of them, so improves that shield duration and reload. We do lose a little bit of range, but not a bad thing in my personal opinion. I want shield duration as high as I can with this, so you can just sit there and block damage with it. Same kind of concept right here. We got ourselves auxiliary reserves with a 15 in that +2 shield duration. We do lose -10 in reload speed, but we can make that up in a couple other ways, especially if you got that Runneth Over. You're gonna have that overflow, so you're not gonna have to reload as often. But those would be my two options. I think between the two, though, I would probably go with low impedance windings, just because it's only -5 in shield duration compared to auxiliary reserves, and we're not losing that reload speed. We're actually gaining reload speed, and -10 in range really isn't that big of a deal for me. I'm using it to block damage anyways and get up close and personal a lot of the time, so not a big deal in my personal opinions. Would go with low impedance over auxiliary. Magazine, I really think you only have one option for PvE, which would be light mag. Right here we get that +10 to reload, +5 to range, so we're making up a little bit on that range side from low impedance like I was talking about. Plus we get that 10 to reload. Definitely feels the best. You could obviously do something if you wanted with a little bit more magazine entries, so you'll have a couple more shots going on, but I really think that this is what you should go with for your 5 out of 5. In the third column right here for PvE, I think you got two solid perks that you can throw on kind of almost interchangeably in my personal opinion. We got Tilting at Windmills, so blocking damage with our shield increases our movement speed while shielding. And also we got Replenishing Aegis, which I personally use more than Tilting at Windmills, but blocking damage partially reloads this weapon from reserves. Both of them involve that blocking aspect of the glaive. Like I said, if I'm on like my Titan, I might use Tilting at Windmills a little bit more so I can have that movement speed blocking all that damage, because you do feel pretty slow when you have it blocking damage. But in my personal opinion, it's totally up to you between those two perks. I just like Replenishing Aegis because of what I would personally pair it with in the fourth column, but we do have two options as well that I think you could kind of throw on as secondary options. If you don't get either of these, they will still do very well on this glaive. Those two options are Slice and Envious Assassin. We got Slice So when we cast our class ability, it allows us to sever targets, which sever is a very good verb that we got in the Strand. You can do a lot with it. And then Envious Assassin as well, defeating targets with other weapons before drawing. This one transfer ammo from the magazine to the reserves so it can overflow the magazine. Not a bad option as well. I think that this would probably be your last option in my personal opinion. Between the two, I would go with Slice over Envious, because with these glaives, I'm mostly trying to get up close and personal, block that damage, and then use melee damage, unless I'm like trying to stun and overload or a unstoppable, whatever we have for the episode. Right now it's unstoppable, but it definitely has changed in the past, where the projectile definitely is what I use to stun those. But I do think that I would go with Replenishing Aegis as my #1 overall out of all 4 of these. For me, I would go with 3 different options for your 4th column, which one being the highest. We got Melee Momentum as one of our options, Unstoppable Force as our 2nd, and then Close to Melee as our 3rd. Melee Momentum, melee final blows with this weapon grant bonus energy and increase our movement speed while blocking. So Momentum, melee right here, with that tilting of the windmills or whatever from the 3rd column, your movement speed does stack there, or that increase to movement speed, if you will. So it is not a bad option for that, for moving around. Also a pretty good PvP option, which I think that's what I'll cover in a second here, or I will cover it, but that's probably my 1 out of 1 in my personal opinion right there. Now for me, Unstoppable Force is what I personally am going to be using with that Replenishing Aegis, because when we block damage with our shield, it increases projectile damage for a short time, and then when we block damage, we're gonna get all of those shots back, so you can kind of just interchangeably use those and never almost run out of ammo as long as you're blocking damage with your shield. Personally like it the best, but like I said, if you're getting up close and personal and meleeing a lot, you do have the other 2 options. That last one that I was talking about is Close to Melee. So Glaive Projectile Final Blows improved melee damage. Glaive Projectile or melee damage extends this duration, so also not a bad option with Replenishing Aegis, just because we can get those shots back when we're blocking, and then when we get final blows and melee damage, it's going to give us a little bit of extra duration for it. So totally a very good universal glaive, if you will. There are a lot of options, totally up to you for your playing style. If you want to use it with projectile damage, if you want to use it more for melee damage, you have a bunch of different options. I know I kind of babbled about it, but there's a lot to go over with this glaive. In my personal opinion, if you're a glaive kind of player, it is very good, and like I said, it's one of 2 that we can have in our kinetic slot. So for me, I'm giving it like a 4.4, 4.5 out of 5 for the PvE realm. It is very, very good, at least just because of the limited options in that kinetic slot, plus the different perk combinations that we can have in the 3rd and 4th column are really make this thing a unique kind of glaive, in my personal opinion, with the Strand aspect to it, with everything that we got. So 100% give this bad boy a try in the PvE realm. Now, when we move on to the PvP side of things, we're not going to have as many options, in my personal opinion. The way that at least I play with a glaive in PvP, it's not my go-to weapon, but some people really like it, and some people absolutely slap with it. It is pretty broken. If you can get up close and personal with someone, there's not much they can do as soon as you start meleeing them. So that's kind of what we're going to build this into, is being able to move close to a guardian and then just melee the absolute crap out of them. So we're going to go with auxiliary reserves in this too, because we want that shield duration again up as much as possible so we can block that damage that they're shooting at us. In my personal opinion, we're not reloading that much in the PvP realm. We're only getting a couple shots in there anyways as we start, so I don't like any of the other halved options besides auxiliary. We got 2 options in our magazine. Accurized rounds if you're looking for a little bit more range on that projectile, but personally not liking or not needing that extra range, I should say. It's kind of a moot point in my personal opinion, but if you are looking for a little bit of extra range, feeling like it's a lackluster at distance, go with accurized. But I personally think your best option is swap mag. Increases the weapon's reload and go speed, so it is a 10% increase, if you will, or decrease in that time, whatever you want to call it. It is super good for the PvP realm, so you can switch on and off of this with a whatever you're using, hand cannon, etc., in your energy slot. But swap mag would be my number one choice. Two options for y'all in the third column. We got tilting at windmills and then discord. So tilting at windmills, blocking damage with a shield, increases movement speed while shielding. So this is probably my number one choice, if you will. So we can use it to, again, get closer to those guardians and then start meleeing them. Because like I said, once you start meleeing with these and you're doing damage, it's very hard to defeat the guardian that you're getting hit by. With your second option being that discord, final blows with another weapon grant this increased speed for ADS, accuracy, airborne effectiveness. When discord is active, final blows refund ammo, so not a bad option as well, especially if you're using it for the projectile damage instead of the melee damage. You can use discord, but I personally, like I said, like the tilting at windmills as the better option. Plus it is definitely how I would use it in the crucible, way more effective getting up close and personal and meleeing those guardians. Again, I'm gonna only go with two options in the fourth column here. We got melee momentum, which is what I would personally choose with that tilting at windmills. This in combination, we're gonna get that melee final blows with this weapon, grant bonus energy and provide increased movement speed while blocking. So those two together is absolutely S tier in my personal opinion for PvP. And then your other one is close to melee, glaive projectile final blows, improve melee damage for that glaive. Glaive projectile or damage extends this duration, so it is a very good perk as well. Totally up to you and your playstyle, especially if you're already getting that movement speed from tilting at windmills. Close to melee is a good option, so you can get that extra little bit of damage if you would like, but I definitely think that I like the additional movement speed that we're getting on both of them if we're using melee momentum as well as tilting at windmills. But again, for me, not a huge glaive fan in the crucible. I'll just play... It's just not my play style, if you will, but people absolutely slap with them, and like I said, if you can start meleeing people, you're going to absolutely dap them up. So I probably, I guess, would give this like a 4.0. Nothing too crazy, nothing like SS tier, but it's like a good A- tier weapon, depending on how you use it and how you like it, your play style. So definitely get to farming that nether, that core of blades, everything like that, running through your expert so you can get those nice shiny version, adept versions, everything like that. But really appreciate you guys for always coming back to the channel. Means a lot to me, means a lot to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. As always, don't be afraid to like, subscribe, hit that bell if you haven't. Join up on the Discord. We're trying to build that boy out, do some more, you know, movie nights, anime nights, etc. Get some raids going on, helping people through dungeons, etc. if they would like it. GMs, you just gotta ask in there, so don't be afraid to be active in the Discord as well. But again, appreciate all you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.